No more talking. Handwritten notes only.
Old school.
Yes. Then put it in the burn file.
I'm gonna give a copy of this to my
Safety.
favorite operation. Those are my thoughts on
Please.
what they're gonna get into today. Just some ideas. You can change it all the words you want.
Exactly.
Say Two Fly called me the other day and they said they have agreed to no longer do touch and goes on the weekends.
Oh, really?
Making all their
Yeah.
students do full stop.
Wow. Well, I was flying today and they're still going halfway to Cocoa Beach before they turn base. You know, I was like, come on, I really want to cut in
Check out
front of
Ron
you. but-
John's and see what's going on.
What's that?
We gotta go to Ron John's and see what's going on.
Newport wax.
Yeah. But you have to be patient. You realize everybody was a student at one time. So
I actually thought I was amazing when I started. And I still actually do.
yeah. So I was doing the test flight of after an annual on my airplane, and I noticed that when I was doing my pre-flight,
Mhm.
the rudder didn't move very freely. It was binding on something. I thought, what did we do? And we had taken the caps off the rudder top and the vertical stabilizer because we shot the
Mhm.
anti-corrosion stuff in there.
Makes
And
sense.
when my new airplane partner put the cap back on, that created vibes. Really good example of why you do a pre-flight, even though you know your airplane really well.
Yeah, exactly. No, good.
Yeah. And then when I landed, taxied back, I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna put my hand on each one of these brake discs. And sure enough, one of them was hotter than the other one. So that's another little thing I've got to check.
Yeah.
with
That's
one.
a nice bird.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. Can't be too complicated.
I get it. Trust
Let's
me.
keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
And my wife would agree.
How's it going?
Doing good, man.
All right.
Just enjoying the heat.
Good thing.
Enjoying the heat. Oh my gosh.
There's gonna be more.
That's why I flew today, because it was cloudy this morning.
Yeah.
Usually when it's 95 degrees and it's 9 in the morning,
That's not a good sign.
that's not good.
What's new, Kevin?
Not much, man.
Yeah.
Not much. Like yourself.
So tomorrow.
Yeah, so after this, you guys go get
Yeah,
a boat.
out here. Well, no, we're heading to South Dakota.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that boat's out of the water for a while, and we'll be back in sometime in August.
Was it a family reunion? What are you going up there for? See America?
Yeah, half a life.
Okay.
My wife's from.
Escaping hurricanes.
It is beautiful.
Oh, it really is. It's a whole different from.
We went to Yellowstone last summer. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
We drove though. I don't recommend
They
it.
say the waterfalls are the largest they've ever been, right? In
Yeah.
Yellowstone this
I
year.
wonder why. Yeah.
I just stopped taking pictures because the photos just didn't give it any sort of justice whatsoever.
Yeah, well, we are driving. So.
We can go out and wrestle any bison now, they can.
Yeah, no, they tell you don't
I know they can.
don't touch anything. But I was excited about the ride. We went from here to Indiana to Minneapolis out west. And I thought, man, this would be the first time I get to see America. Man, there ain't nothing to see. So nothing to see. So whenever you see a gas station, you just stop.
There are
And
places where that's true. Yeah.
yeah, you just stop.
You know that we were watching the standard EAA monthly
Yeah.
video,
Mhm.
and something I learned on it says because EAA has a museum
Yeah.
in Oshkosh, they have a relationship with 250 museums
Nice.
in the country
Mhm.
where it's reciprocity and you can get in free.
What about this one?
Huh?
What about here?
I don't know about this one, but you know, it usually has to be,
Normal
it has to
out
be,
there.
no, it has to be 90, it has to be
90,
90 miles away from where you're.
Oh,
museum
okay.
is. So like, there's a technology museum
Yes.
in
It's
Chicago. It's usually like 26
fine.
months. It's free if you show your EAA membership.
Wow, that's cool.
So if you're gonna traveling around, you
Yeah.
wanna go see a museum, check it out.
Oh, the wife ain't gonna tolerate that, but maybe I'll go on my own.
letting the technology catch up too.
But it's not all aviation, you know,
Yeah.
it's it's
No,
kind of
that's cool.
technology.
You know, I've never heard that. I've been involved with BA for a long time.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Yeah, I can remember for 20 years.
Yeah.
Read a street sign.
Back when you were a kid or something.
What's up?
Yeah.
20,
Need the lights on?
Yeah.
It's a savings.
You get it,
I can put
make
you
it
sleep
hotter.
without the lights
Make it
on.
hotter.
When they first did it, I got the slide.
Stop airport.
Oh, you got some light rating there?
I need that, I'm gonna fly down
The
to.
day one that
Fort
was
Lauderdale, thinking tomorrow morning.
I was over in Sarasota.
I have a lot of charge. 15 years, and I don't want to do that
They
now.
had the most unusual light pattern with light.
Hello, sir. Good, how are you doing?
Window, she had a big circle around it. So lit up.
Coming
That
for
was
some
really
Look at you.
Good.
Fancy up. Take that out for you.
Well,
Yeah, that's fine, man. Thanks.
Want everybody to.
I picked one, but how would I know there? I had no idea.
Let's move.
Oh, another day.
Hey, did we ever come up with any way for
Hey,
you to
don't call back.
access email?
I'll get it back.
IT guy here.
You should really say it's man.
I don't know. Maybe just one
You're not feeling good.
Oh, really?
Twice now.
There you go.
So it's,
It's all about how you approach
No,
it, right? Things not going well.
I'll set it up.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Good to see you. Good to see you. How are you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been getting- Yeah. Being elevated. Or I can move one over here. You want to move one so you can start the sound too?
Extra public works out today.
No.
So where were you? Well, then I'll. Oh.
No, I didn't see as many as I thought.
He's like, he's not happy with it. Oh, of course.
Alligators, total 5 alligators in the picture, so.
That's what. It's fine in the middle ground.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Oh, wow.
Or do you want one?
I don't know, like, well, we went by North Carolina to see some folks.
Yeah.
We're about
It's not called Mopen.
It's not.
We're starting at youth
South
aviation.
Bismarck.
Oh,
This
good.
weekend is the first weekend. We have 4 different.
About 100 miles from there.
Get the
3,000.
youngins in on it.
It's different.
I think you got that.
Oh, yeah, I have it.
This is Georgia. Well, Drive.
All
We're on
right.
7
Yeah, it's like
About 300 miles away.
The Corn Palace.
Made the trail.
That is.
I thought that's for you.
So I'm at
Gives you kind of a boom picture.
Whole different level of appreciation, and part of it's just getting older and looking at how much I like comfort. Thinking what they went through.
The rest is the same. Actually, put some jogs in.
Oh, we Attention on deck.
You weren't here last time I was
Long time no see.
I know. 5 years.
Sue.
What? No, not at all.
Mark doesn't want to buy a charter. But he picks up a freebie. He doesn't want to buy a charter.
Interest in generating static.
You have 4 flights?
I asked him the same thing. He would never spend that kind of money.
I don't think it's very rare that I go cross country.
What are you flying?
170.
We got a camper, we got to use it.
Four flights only like $125 a year.
Use it once.
And everything's updated.
Do you want
What I actually do. What I do is I go to Skype on my laptop and then I just hit print and then I scroll down and hit print. Map, but it's print out half by 11.
I know the ones on my plane are looking.
I was asking, I was asking what John's doing. It's like,
Yeah.
sure enough, I said, there's no.
No, it's brutal.
I love
Good afternoon, this is Mark.
You'll see.
Sure. How many people?
You're just building.
Yeah, and you know which one you want to take.
Rob,
Yes.
how long did it take you to figure out?
Yeah, I've got like 6 years.
I don't even know.
I'm just curious if I was in the ballpark.
Symptoms.
Space, the
Yeah.
or half hour.
15, 30.
You're right.
Okay, it's 169.
That wasn't that bad.
No,
It's tedious.
Yeah, we took a hell that was fun.
Use it for Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. That meeting that's sitting. Place where we.
I didn't hear from, I know Jessica's not. Yeah.
I'm in a hurry.
Where are we going?
Your last Blue Origin trip.
We're just
talking. Started working with my wife.
Oh, she leaving.
Onward and upward.
Too good.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody.
You want to just call back, you know?
No. Good, how you doing?
Okay, what's left? What's left?
Very good.
Can I take some operations?
Sorry.
You got it. You're all set for doing that.
Yeah. Orange sky.
Were you up for that?
Yeah.
Would you like to see dolphins? That'll be 35.
The air filter for you.
Who is leading? Is there a?
There is an agenda.
Yeah, here. It's at 9,000 feet, couldn't see it around.
Want this?
I said, it wasn't cloudy sky.
All right. Well, good afternoon. We'll call the vision workshop to order. All rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Down's on the way.
Roll call.
okay. Mr. Craig,
Present.
Mr. Mount,
On the way.
Mr. Mulder,
Here.
Ms. Curry, Mr. Whitmore,
Here.
Mr. Vaughn.
Here.
Mr. Granger,
Present.
Mr. Doherty,
Present.
Mr. Burke.
All right, thank you. No decision items, so there's no need for a form, even though we have one. Approval of agenda is the, I don't think we actually need approval of agenda. There's nothing to vote on in a workshop. So with that, I'll let you
Bring up Brad Weston with the condo. He's going to lead us in our visioning workshop this afternoon.
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Brad Westman, Recondo and Associates, I'm the project manager for the Airport Master Plan updates. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. Very excited about this opportunity to receive feedback and hopefully facilitate a dialogue with you all this afternoon. Primary objective is just that, actually, to discuss with you and solicit your input and your guidance and your direction on 3 of the Airport Master Plan subtasks. And collectively, we have been referring to those as your visioning exercise. It's strengths and opportunities assessment, visioning, and then the development of your master plan update goals. In order to do that today, we have just a few agenda items. And first of all, what we'd like to do is I just have 2 quick slides. We'll talk a little bit about the Airport Master Plans updates that we're working on. We'll talk a little bit about the process, and then also show you where we are in a flow diagram, where we are in the process as well. We do want to also spend a little bit of time and acknowledge all your efforts that were undertaken in 2021 through your strategic business plan. So we'll review just at a very high level the goals and objectives from that exercise. And then we'll spend the most of the hour talking about, and I promise to not keep you a full hour here, but happy to do that if you would like. But what we were proposing to do is step through each airport separately, starting with TIX, moving to Merritt Island, and then rounding out with X21. And we'll just talk a little bit about the strengths and opportunities, targeted businesses and development opportunities, and then finally, what we can do as part of the planning process to kind of help achieve your vision and your goals. Okay. I do want to touch on, it can be kind of a little bit confusing sometimes to keep track of exactly what we're trying to study here. I guess first and foremost, I want the board to know that we do recognize that you have 3 very, very unique airports here. There's different physical and operational characteristics at each of your facilities. So this is not one cookie cutter master plan we're applying to each of your facilities. The scopes, in fact, are tailored to each of your facilities. And each of these master planning efforts, it really culminates with two deliverables. And one is probably, I know Kevin's really anxious to get his hands on, is the capital improvement program. The capital improvement program, it's a list of projects, rough order of magnitude cost estimates, but the key item of the capital improvement program is that there's clearly defined funding sources there. So that gives you your roadmap of really kind of what you're doing. So not only do you have a drawing, we refer to it as the airport layout plan, but you will have costs for each of those projects and then kind of a path to implement those as well. So each of that will be done for each of your three airports, but we are not losing sight of the fact that, and yes, it's one system of airports, not 7. That font does look a little bit odd, but I've checked that a couple times. That is in fact a 1. You are operating and managing one system of airports. So it's very important that as part of this process, we do consider the system-wide affordability of the airport master plans. Process diagram, kind of a fancy way of saying flow chart. Obviously not going to read to you each of those boxes, but I can kind of summarize it very succinctly, hopefully. Each of those little boxes that you see on the screen there, that's a task in each of your master plans. Each of these tasks culminates in some type of deliverable, whether it's a working paper, it could be a PowerPoint presentation. You'll note there's aerial surveying and mapping, so it would be a survey. Some type of deliverable. You can clearly see where we are here. So we're nearing the end of the first phase. So that first phase is really development of our baseline conditions. We've done a tenant survey. We've done that electronically with some of the key tenants. We're collecting a lot of background information, reviewing previous studies. We visited all 3 airports in January. We take a ton of measurements, a lot of pictures. And one of the things that Kevin kind of challenged us at the beginning of this project was that, Brad, I'd really like to have a good idea of the condition of a lot of these facilities. So we did have our engineers come with us, and we have kind of a high level assessment then developed of the condition of all of your facilities. So we do have this color coded here. The gray are tasks that are already completed, and the dark blue are the ongoing tasks. And the cyan are future tasks. Process does follow FAA and FDOT guidance. They generally provide us the recipe, and then it's up to us to kind of tailor that recipe and work under your direction to kind of achieve your goals and objectives.
Brad,
Yes, sir.
when are we going to get to kind of stakeholder and public involvement within the process?
Okay, yep, that is a great question, Kevin. So each of these projects does have a specific and a separate stakeholder engagement component to it. In addition to the tenant survey that I mentioned, we have 2 committees, and they're advisory in nature. They don't have decision-making power. There's a technical advisory panel, FAA, tower representatives, FBOs, maybe a board representatives, pilots, group, those types of things. And then there's also a citizens advisory panel as well. And that's pretty broadly defined. That could be the local planning people, the MPO, the economic development staff, community representatives, HOA representatives. I'll be working closely with Kevin over the next few weeks to kind of define those committees and determine possible representatives for those. In terms of engaging the broader public, we do have a series of open house workshops. We have, I believe, 2 of those open house workshops. So those will generally be midway through the 2nd phase and midway through the 3rd phase. They are open houses. We'll have a series of display boards. The public will come in. I will bring a number of representatives from the project team with me so we can kind of speak intelligently on each of the different display boards.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
When you talked about tenant surveys, did that include the hundreds of tenants that are occupying hangars and things like that? Or was it primarily FBOs and the businesses and that sort of thing? Because I hadn't heard of an electronic survey for,
Yeah.
the large scale tenants.
Sure. Yeah, so it was mainly it was sent to businesses, FBOs, the larger tenants. Yes, not every individual T hangar.
And how do you get that other tenant base input?
Yeah, so representatives, and I know you were in the EA. Yeah, so I'm sure you'll be on a part of either the technical advisory panel or the citizens advisory panel.
Yeah, I've offered to help get that group together whenever.
Okay. Yeah,
The
excellent.
process.
Yeah, I
is
appreciate
ready.
that. And also, I'm going to circulate to we do have a email address developed for each of the airport master plans as well too. So we're able to solicit feedback. And as we start engaging the public and various stakeholders, we'll make sure we have that out there. Sir.
You said that you're going to involve the public in this. How are they going to be notified?
Yeah, well, traditionally advertisement in the newspaper. I would think now there would be something on your website, a banner on your website. I'm not sure what other types of direct mailing. We're happy to, I'll develop the advertisement, and it can be circulated in the newspaper, electronically.
Yeah, we have email distribution lists.
Email distribution lists. Okay. Okay. Anything else on the airport master plan process? It's a lot. I mean, we could spend a whole hour talking about the process. The process of doing this is sometimes equally as important as the final end product of getting everyone kind of engaged and aligned on the final product. So it is important. Okay. All right. As I mentioned, in November of 2021, there was a strategic business plan workshop done. And the purpose of that study was to provide relevant guidance to the authority for facilitating the unique business models for each airport and serving its existing and future tenants, the users, and then also the broader community. There were 4 goals and a series of objectives that came out of that study. And I just want to review them very quickly, and then I will kind of translate how we've kept this in mind as we've developed your current airport master plans. So the first goal that you'll notice at the top is to preserve and enhance arguably your biggest asset here is really kind of your airfield. And the second goal deals with, it's all about the bottom line, how to enhance financial performance. And you'll notice there were a lot of objectives established there. So there's definitely a message there that is a very important goal. Goals 3 and 4, I really like goals 3 and 4. They are somewhat related, and I think there's some synergies there under goal 2 as well, because they definitely would help establish, reinforce goal 2. So the third goal is to promote and facilitate additional aviation services and facilities. The fourth goal is all about attracting new businesses, whether it's aeronautical or non-aeronautical businesses. So what I've tried to do is I've kind of worked through the airport master plan is to align the goals that we've been thinking about and discussing for your airport master plan to align them more with these goals. So you'll see there's a lot of similarities between the airport master plan goals. So that's another level of detail that we put on there. It's a little bit more granular than these system-wide goals. So what I'd like to do now is I want to review the strengths and opportunities, the target development and desired amenities, and also your vision and your goals for each of your 3 airports. And we'll go airport by airport. So this information, it's been informed and guided through conversations with Kevin, his staff, Justin, Lisa, Christy. Over the last 6 months, we've been working closely together. We've also spent a lot of time reviewing your previous planning studies. We've relied heavily on the strategic business plan from 2021, and then also some of our experience and expertise at other airports as well. So please provide input, thoughts at any time. This is a list. Nothing is set in stone, and we're anxious to kind of hear what your feedback is and your input on some of these. So at the top left, strengths, really the first thing that comes to mind here at TIX is that this is your largest facility by far. It does have over 1,600 acres, and there are opportunities, there are pockets for areas that could be developed. And Kevin, he does a great job of reminding me that not all of that is easy, not all of it's low-hanging fruit. There are environmental considerations, utility considerations, access and circulation considerations. So not all of it's going to be easy. However, there is property here. And the second strength that comes to mind when we think of TIX is that the proximity really to a lot of different assets, including I-95, State Route 407, Kennedy Space Center, the Cape. It is really centrally located, has excellent highway access. Another strength is the airfield. The airfield is extremely capable. A 7,300-foot runway with a precision instrument approach is a tremendous asset. Air traffic control tower, our facility, very, very attractive things to business aviation and corporate type of activity. Also, as you know, Brevard County is, the entire county is actually in Foreign Trade Zone 136. And the facility, as we all know, it is a licensed horizontal spaceport as well. The last item we had under strengths is that you are, as you know, an independently operated airport authority, which does provide you a little bit of autonomy. Let me pause and, and ask if there are any other strengths.
It's about multimodal transportation, railroad and maritime.
Yep. Yeah, that's an excellent one. And we do have a bullet under opportunities there. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's a really good one, I think. Okay, the opportunities, there are going to be some similarities here. We've tried to kind of follow this through here. Development and investment, yeah, that's. No
I hadn't read
problem.
ahead, sorry.
No problem, sir. So really under opportunities, the first bullet and the last bullet are very related. And as you know, I've been coming to the board meetings the last 6 months. Development and investment from aerospace companies and third-party developers. Think Space Coast Innovation Park and some of the other exciting things we've been hearing about at the board meetings. The potential lease for the corporate hangars on the west side of the airfield. So that is all a tremendous opportunity. The second bullet I have relates to landside access and how to potentially increase developable space. I give you a little bit of an example there. As you know, Tico Road, as it goes south around the runway 36 end, if that road were relocated a little bit further south, that would effectively provide you with more developable space that had direct access to your primary runway. So those are some of the opportunities we can study as part of the master planning process and some of the things that we feel like are opportunities that are worth exploring. And then the third bullet is proximity to existing rail and port infrastructure. I think you've already been maybe receiving some of those benefits. I think you maybe have a ground lease with the FEC to store some of the tractor trailers before they go east to the rail yard. As part of the tenant surveys, one of the items that one of the tenants noted was that a potential opportunity was to develop to add a customs and border protection facility here at TIX. So that's something we can talk with the stakeholders about. If you notice, we have demand driven in parentheses there. I think it's important to note that just because we have an idea, that doesn't necessarily mean that the master plan is always going to be able to translate what our ideas are into actual facilities. But that's something that we can discuss with various stakeholders and help think about as a group. Where would something like this be ideally suited? Right now, you have a tremendous partnership with your federal and state agency or funding agencies. That is also an opportunity as well. What am I forgetting at TIX as far as opportunities?
I don't know if you covered it already, but I think
Yes, sir.
This airport is really well suited for commercial and corporate facilities. If you needed to have a corporate base for corporate aviation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. So we have kind of, and that's a great transition here to our next slide. So what we've done here is target development and desired amenities. So these are both developments and businesses that we think, as we thought about the strengths and opportunities that might be ideally suited. And we talked about all the strengths of the airfield. That I think there's a lot of opportunity for increased charter operations, corporate type activity. Kevin reminds me often about maintenance, repair, and overhaul would be a good fit for this airport. The airport industry has, over the last year, been very, there's a lot of talk about advanced air mobility and emerging trends and vertiports and those types of things. And Florida is kind of an early adopter to some of those, studying the regulatory implications of some of those things. But some other ideas that we had in mind were air ambulance companies, additional avionics companies, A&P companies, and then certainly capitalizing on the relationship with the aerospace industry as well. In terms of desired amenities, we have been evaluating the tenant surveys as they have been coming in. One of the things that was noted, and this is really no surprise, I think that every airport wants to have a restaurant. I mean, I've worked at an airport. I like to eat. I always like to go to the airport restaurant, and as a flying community, we value that as well. So at least we can work with you as part of this process to identify where's a good location for that. I know you don't want to necessarily give away your most valuable property that could be used potentially for hangars or aviation activities, but we can look into that as well.
Are we supposed to give you our opinion now?
Absolutely, sir. I would love it.
I mean, I would think it's gotta go next to the Air Museum so that they benefit from it.
Sure.
Place to go, do other things. It gives the restaurant places for people to go.
Yeah,
To me, that
absolutely.
seems like a logical place.
Yeah, that would help drop traffic to it. That's for sure. Yeah, you can do the morning at the museum and go have lunch.
How about thinking about the first class FBO building at the entrance to the airport? We've got some very wealthy people flying into here. It'd be nice to have an amenity to them as well as others.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a little bit about access road improvements and even some of the signage. I know is a little bit interesting, and there's a lot of Warbird Museum signs, that's for sure. I can always find
There was a big sale.
They're
They're everywhere.
So, yeah.
A lot of different names to this airport.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I saw the green sign that goes to the FBO, and that's Space Center, Executive Jet Center Airport. What?
Transition on the name. Final name.
Yeah, the name.
We have the name.
Oh, we did? I thought we couldn't use it or something.
No, it's done. So last week.
Waiting on
What is it?
FDOT. Yes.
Classified?
We're not allowed to know to the
Space
next
Coast
meeting.
Regional Airport. And then we have Exploration Park, Spaceport. Jeez, now I'm messing up.
Oh,
Neither of which are actually on any of our streets.
Well, Space Coast Regional Airport is on the one side, but yes, it is kind of hodgepodge all over the place.
Patrick AFB is still one half.
We have spaceport territory. I don't know what that means. It's a tax district.
Yeah. We'll put a tarp over it today. How to figure it out.
Okay, so
yeah, we put.
I just noted it all down. Yes, sir. Yep, absolutely.
But one other question, I guess it may be included in your target development, but I think another unique place about this airport is the amount of property that you have around it that's included in the airport, obviously. But what about, I think you do have it, okay, manufacturing. Yeah, I was thinking aerospace manufacturing, because while you couldn't support probably someone like Embraer, there are a lot of startup companies now with the eVTOL companies that are coming out, and Joby's one of them. I've been following them. I believe they're going to be the first ones to really make the eVTOL work, but there's a lot of other ones out there that may be looking for a place to locate a manufacturing facility.
A lot of people want to come to Florida, and it'd be a great place to test it. You do have some, you do have developable space, and if you could kind of weave that into the rocket test area or somewhere that does testing and development that doesn't conflict with your main approaches, that would be really ideal. Yeah.
I just you did have manufacturing.
Great. Just to step back, because Mr. Whitmore actually brought up a point that is not on there. You mentioned a foreign trade zone, but you did not mention the separate taxing or tax-free area that is the spaceport property, which is completely different than the airport property whatsoever. So I think that we need to make sure that that definition between those two entities is memorialized, and that we understand what it is, and then when we go to do business development, that we understand what those two different things mean and how we market them. That's a huge deal.
Yep. Yes, I will do more research on that, make sure that's included and kind of memorialized in your master plan, what the benefits are for each of those. That's a great point. Last TIX slide, I promise. So we've attempted to take all of those various strengths, opportunities, and desired amenities, and we've really tried to extract a key theme for each of your three facilities. And what we came up with, certainly subject to your change, your input, and your guidance, is for TIX to be the premier corporate aviation hub for the TCA system of airports. So what we've done then is we've really thought about what that meant, and then we tried to structure your goals to help you achieve not only that vision, but to also be in alignment with your broader goals that were developed as part of your 2021 strategic business plan. So the goals, and you'll recognize this first goal here from the first goal from your business plan, is to preserve and enhance your existing airfield to accommodate future aviation demand. The second goal, and I wanted to kind of keep this high up because I know it is important to this board, is to incorporate and leverage the key findings from the Spaceport Master Plan. And then the third goal, to kind of dovetail into the second goal from your strategic business plan, is to establish an independent system-wide capital improvement program that's realistic and affordable. And the final goal of the TIX master plan is to really develop a land use plan that considers the age of your facilities and the development potential. So in other words, how do we repurpose underutilized or aging assets is something that we plan on studying very carefully. So I know that is that's quite a lot to think about there on that slide, but if you have any TIX comments.
Question, any consideration or any interest in considering more concrete, lengthening the runway? Do we have any need for it for existing aviation or for horizontal launch?
It's already in the current master plan. It'll be revisited as part of this effort too, to get us to that 8,000 foot threshold.
It's a good number.
Yeah, it's on your airport layout plan. The issue, and Kevin's been through this a couple times before, is getting funding for it. You have to really do a very good job of justifying exactly why and showing which aircraft are going to use that. But yeah, definitely, it's nice to keep that on your plan as well. It helps to preserve your airspace.
Yeah.
You know, you might not need it now or in 5 years, but maybe you do in 10 or 12 years. So definitely plan on keeping that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How, the vision statement up there, how all encompassing, is that it?
That's it.
That's our
So
vision.
it's not very verbose for TIX. So as I was preparing for this, I know COI and X21 had more words to it, but
Well, I was just
No, it's-
thinking premier corporate aviation hub seems kind of limiting of our objectives for this place, maybe corporate and industrial aviation hub or something that, you know, 'cause we just talked about how it wants to, none of it matters.
And spaceport. I mean, that's huge.
yeah, so we had that in there at one point. So Kevin and I have kind of gone back and forth a couple times, but yeah, it's you guys are in the driver's seat.
I don't know if I would call that the entire vision. I mean, it's a vision. one of them.
Well, I think the way it's labeled is it's TIX, which is the airfield, right?
Okay.
Correct.
So is it the entire property or is it just the airfield?
And where's the line between the spaceport and the airport?
It's a, you know, I think it's a discussion point, and I understand what you're saying. But for the airfield itself, that may be it, but for the entire property, which is a different entity, because we have such expansive non-aviation property surrounding us. I don't know, you know, if you need to put a subset or break it out better, or if it's just for the airfields themselves. I don't know what
Probably
we
need to massage it a little bit.
Yeah, we're happy to massage that a little bit. And I guess the other thing that I would throw out is I think in terms of kind of how I get my direction from this board and how I kind of go forward. I think the goals are more important for me because I can develop really your alternatives and your future development plans with those goals in mind. This vision doesn't have to be something that the board formally, look, this is our, I mean, this is the vision for the master plan.
Right.
But yeah, definitely happy to take another pass at that. And maybe we weave in some of those other things such as the corporate the industrial aspect of it, and some of the other.
So certainly the spaceport would have its own vision.
Yes.
Which wouldn't be that.
No.
Um,
Yes, certainly not.
So I think there's an ability to break out those entities within the property itself.
There's a little bit of a discrepancy in master plan goals. You got the spaceport, you got the airport, you got the development, all
Right.
that. And then vision, like John said, that's kind of a focus as it's written up.
Maybe the word commercial instead of corporate aviation. That's all. When I think of corporate aviation, I think, well, the whole vision of this thing is to get there. That's in here.
Maybe say commercial and space, commercial and aviation and
Hey,
space.
Brad.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
To the point that the young made, gentleman, and excuse yourself for coming in later. I'm the lucky guy who gets to work with this gentleman, but to the point of describing a vision, you're absolutely right. You want to leave it as broad, as open-ended as you can. You could make it as simple as to be a premier aviation and economic hub.
Yeah, that's
Perfect, even better.
And you could be anything within aviation, and it gives you a broad brush of economic activities that make sense.
Yeah, even better. Yeah, great idea.
That's all I'm allowed to say for the rest of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
I
McConnell.
need to introduce, this
No,
is
no, you're
Pete McConnell. So
I mean, I understand what you're saying because the overall vision of the authority is much broader.
Yes.
And there are pieces of it. And certainly if we want corporate investment, corporate aviation investment, this is the best place for it compared to the other two properties that we have. Again,
yeah, this is your flagship.
for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, just aviation. Then now the goals line up underneath that nicely.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay, moving south to Merritt Island Airport. The next two airports are maybe a little more streamlined. I think we've kind of talked about some of the strengths already, so I won't kind of belabor those. But the main strength that we noticed for Merritt Island Airport was really summed up as busy. There's a lot of activity at that airport. There is a diverse mix of, as you all know, training activity and itinerant general aviation activity there as well. It is in a very centralized location within Brevard County, and it is an active community. There's the EA and various other groups at the airport that I think are very important and are kind of what gives many of these airports the unique character which we all like. In terms of opportunities, as I was reviewing your previous master plan, there are several adjacent parcels of land that were identified as potential land opportunities that could net you some additional developable space and help diversify your revenue. The landside access, it's a little bit unique there as you exit the main road and then you come to the gate, or you would go to the right towards the FBO. I guess I'd like to find a way to ask the board what your thoughts are on the landside access there.
You mean from the main courtney
Yeah, well, I guess,
or from the backside or from both? Or
yeah,
south?
does it need to be one access to the airport that goes to both sides? Or is that not something that is?
I think we put enough money into having two access points at this point that,
Okay.
They just definitely need to be improved both.
Okay.
Well, the north side's getting better as we're doing the Massey project, but the south side's very obviously. the south side.
Yeah, the backside is, depends on the gas.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Why not drive, can you drive a road and make a new entry right through the storage
That's what I
mean,
kind of like.
it's right in the middle of the damn airport. Now you wouldn't have a one side
Centralized.
versus the other, it'd be a centralized entry.
And then you can remove that south side access road and you open up a little bit more developable
Development
land.
space, that's really what I was kind of thinking, and so the because when you put it in the GPS, it brings you to the north side.
There's no way
And there's no
finding
way
the
to
DOT,
get-
you don't know you're there.
Yeah.
T-bone into a fence.
Close that south side after this.
Okay, on the way on. Sir. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. Again, strong partnerships with the local agencies and regional entities as well. I did know it as part of our building inspection. So the FBO building there, it was built in the mid-70s and seems to be in poor condition. So we have an opportunity there for a new terminal facility.
You're talking about where two fly
Yes.
is?
Yes, sir.
At least according to your appraisal.
See some better days.
Fine.
Just need some paint.
Keep breaking the money.
That's a separate subject.
Yes. Wide variety of things.
But really, the entry is, I think, a big issue. I mean,
I like this.
it's two separate little backwater entries that
They kind of know where it is.
neither people can, the public can't find. Whether they're looking for the north or the south.
It's true. Like you say, it would give you more development property.
Could you do it under the end of the runway like that? It's just a road.
I think so. Yeah, we did some like preliminary concepts one day. I like that. I thought it looked really good. Yeah, we can
Yeah, we could start that as part of the
officially
master
visit
plan.
it.
We'll do a deep dive into the airspace and make sure that we have the appropriate clearances for approach and departure, no problem. All right.
May I add one
Yes.
opportunity since
Mhm.
that's the airport? My, it's the only one that I know of that has river access. So there's an opportunity. We talked about restaurants. You could have a riverside restaurant. You could have a small seaplane ramp. You know, it has lots of opportunity if you think big. And I know thinking big means thinking a lot of money, but it is unique to the river. It's an Indian River. It's a national treasure. And there might be something that can be done to.
Stick around for the board meeting.
That's at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
sir.
I'm-
But it is an asset. That airport is stunning, absolutely stunning. And we've been working really hard to get it cleaned up and where it needs to be.
And it looks a lot better, but
Yeah.
we haven't done anything with the river.
Are there
Yeah.
riparian rights where you can go out further on the runway and river?
A runway extension further into the river.
Yeah, good luck. The police will say no.
We're hemmed in. I think.
I will say so.
Adam with the build those boxes in his backyard. Seagrass.
I think
No, too soon.
if the board has the capacity to study that, I know the previous efforts there, it really won a lot of awards in the industry for kind of the seagrass.
Just stop right.
Okay. I'm sorry, we did not study that anymore.
Yeah.
So Brad's the life, so he's gonna bail me out here.
No, I'm gonna jump out of seagrass and into just traffic flow and the degree of saturation that airport is with over 300 operations last month. Any talk of turning it into a controlled airport from the control tower there? That, anybody look into that, or is that like forget it, or where are we on
I don't
that?
think there was a lot of love from the board on that. We had talked about it.
It's a seagrass issue.
I think it's a Band-Aid. I think it's a Band-Aid on the underlying problem. Why not fix the underlying problem?
Right.
Still gonna-
Because that would slow stuff up even more.
All right.
So, I mean, we're working with the flight school. Justin found out the other day that they're not doing touch and goes on weekends now. We're seeing more capacity move up here to Space Coast now, and we're actually seeing the numbers drop a little bit at Merritt Island. So, people are trying to help.
Okay.
So we really, I think, covered most of the targeted development and then desired amenities as well, such as the FBO. The restaurant, again, is something that has come up and then also the access road and aesthetic improvements as well. And we have hangar development on here as well. There's not really an airport in Florida right now that doesn't desire additional hangars. So those are all items that can will be studied throughout the planning process.
How would you access a restaurant?
Yeah, so on the south side or on the,
You said the riverside, right, for a restaurant?
On the north.
We do not
Be on the
know.
north at the end of that Wall Street.
For the focus.
Yes.
Well, there's some argument about who owned the road. We'll get to that today.
Boy,
Stay tuned.
make sure I'm gonna stick around for the next meeting. Okay. All right. So the vision for COI, again, subject to your guidance here, what we came up with preliminarily was to be a vibrant and self-sustaining general aviation airport that supports recreational flight activity with enhanced amenities and modern facilities. So, Mr. Granger, we've gone from just a few words to, yeah, we've got tons of words in this one.
But it's a more focused airport, and it's not Tix where you've got so much potential for things.
And then in terms of goals, simply prepare an incremental plan to modernize the aging facilities. The second goal touches on what Mr. Whitmore had about it. It is very, very busy at that airport, and we're going to evaluate airfield capacity certainly as part of the planning process. That's, yes, sir.
I'll keep going. I'll talk with that.
It's up to you. Establish an independent system-wide CIP that focuses on financial resiliency. And then the final one was something we've kind of touched on already. Develop a plan that considers access, circulation, and aesthetics.
Is there a different type of airport than aviation?
Is there a different
How
type?
you use it as an adjective? I'm trying to figure out.
I think general aviation.
General aviation.
Oh, generally.
General aviation,
GA.
general aviation, GA airport.
Tying right into that, what I caught my eye was recreational flight activity. That's, I'd say a large percentage of the traffic out there is training. Not just recreational flying, but people that are learning to fly, getting licenses that might deserve a nod. I don't know, anybody else?
Well, and so I would say that I've written out early on what was going to be the individual, mission statements of each airport. Is it, everybody says what a beautiful airport it is. It's a treasure, all this stuff. It is, but it's a community treasure, right? It's a piece of the county that there's nothing like it anywhere else. And so what is it there for? Is it there for the county's use? Or is it there for other people to make money off? But I don't know. I mean, that's what it's used for right now, mostly. And maybe that's limiting what the county built it for to begin with. I don't know. I don't have a dog in the hunt either way. I just wonder if that is, are we really following that right now with the way the airport is set up and with the way that it is utilized? Good point. I think it's worth, drilling into.
So the best thing about coming into all this is you hear conversations and you look at things from a different perspective. As I was hearing you all talk, and I saw the term Brad had up there, I wonder if the piece in there says that supports recreational flight activity, why call it out? It's almost like you want to put something in there that is symbolic, it represents the image of our community. It's like if you're trying to preserve, it is so hard to find a nice GA airport on a river like that, and I think if this airport has the opportunity to say, we have 3 airports and this is what we want to be the identity of our community for all visitors come out here. It seems like you want to embed something in there that on this airport, don't restrict or try to call out what kind of activity it does, but maybe put in something in there that says, becomes kind of the icon airport that will represent what we want to portray to the world out of this region, right? Otherwise, your system of airports, we want to preserve some identity to this airport that it has today that keeps it unique going forward, you know? I think keeping an eye on that would always help you add enhanced amenities, modern facilities, and keep whatever it is that you really like that you don't want to lose or preserve or clean up. You know? So I think there is a community component.
It could be building on a lot of the contributions to the community that the airport already has. You've got the sheriff's department there, which is providing community service. You've got banner towing, and you've got the, the airplane rides and active general aviation organizations that contribute to the community. So that whole thing of being a showcase airport on how an airport can contribute to a community could go a long way to building good community relations and maybe quelling some of the community complaints about the airport.
Agreed. And an exclamation mark to what you said, the unique opportunity there, access to the Banana River, a seaplane base, give Jack Brown something to think about, and have a seaplane operation cater to that. That would be I would think, a huge plus.
Well, with all the complaints about people flying, just landing on the runway, are you going to create a bigger problem with planes landing now out from their houses?
I think it's
Noise.
I think it's worth looking into. I mean, I don't know. Look up what Tavares did to their area. I mean, wasn't on the last AOP and master plan they had a seaplane base. Yep, it was on the last one.
What I find interesting is, your point is, it's the county's airport, it's in this community, and what is it? Many cities, small municipalities that have a private airport have public access, where there's the kids go and they watch the planes take up. The community, that's a benefit to the community. Right now, Merritt Island Airport is, because of the hard to find the entries, there's no place. You either have a card to get through the gate, or you're staring at a gate.
Mhm.
And the community doesn't get to partake. It doesn't take much, just to be able to, like Peachtree in Georgia, it's amazing. It's packed, the parking lot. Every day there's kids there playing, parent picnicking and all that. And that's their airport. They've never flown in their lives. They're not pilots, but it's part of their community that they can go and experience.
Yep, start the in-dock process.
And I think that's an important thing I just think it's an important thing for the county's airport. If it's going to be an asset to the community and not just service the few in the community that have pilot's licenses, it should be a benefit for everybody.
Where I flew up north, the EAA chapter used to sponsor a summer camp, kids aviation camp. It lasts about 6 weeks, and then they all got to fly and learn about aviation. Maybe the EAA chapter would be interested in doing something like that.
We're doing it.
To draw kids into that.
This
Because
is
we can't get enough kids into the airport now.
I agree, they do, but what I'm saying is it's just the layout, it's not inviting. There's nothing inviting to the general public to go.
At the end of the river.
It's amazing that people from Merritt Island that don't know it.
Well, and you have to,
Absolutely. Or they do, or they don't know where.
you have to drive through an area that's not inviting to get to an uninviting airport.
Okay, sorry, we do have about 7 minutes.
Excellent. Yes, sir. We will revisit that. Absolutely. And Arthur Dunn Airpark, I think there's really some opportunities here to kind of dovetail into what was just discussed about bringing the airport into the community and creating that relationship here. So strengths, as we know, there's a diverse range of aeronautical activity there, including skydiving. You are very blessed to have some non-aeronautical activity out there that helps diversify your revenue stream. The golf course, the county leases property, and then also the city leases parcels as well. Again, the FBO facility is somewhat dated, and we feel preliminarily that there's a potential to look at airfield capacity, and it may be underutilized out there. So that would be a good opportunity to bring some additional types of activities or uses to the airport, such as some flight training activity, a small MRO type operation, or things like helicopter repair, those types of activities. Also, we do have here special events. There's a large grass area. It brings to mind fly-ins, overnight camping. It doesn't have to be sun and fun or, Oshkosh scale, but it could be something like that to get kids to the airport and get families to the airport. And another way to bring that into the community as well. It's also kind of uniquely suited for possibly like a walking trail or something around the perimeter. There may be some space. We'll kind of look into those types of things as well. And in terms of goals, objectives, and visions for this airport, here we have to support recreational flying and enhance flight training activity by attracting additional aeronautical tenants. So this is mainly driven by my comment about capacity. There's about 40,000 operations at this airport, and it does have 2 runways. So it is not anywhere near as busy as, say, Merritt Island, for example, which has well over 115,000 operations. We did take a shot at developing some goals here, and again, we're going to look at airfield capacity, ways to enhance the airfield to continue to support recreational flying, and then third is to develop a plan to maximize your land use for accommodating both aeronautical and future aeronautical demand. And then the final bullet there is to identify some improvements to attract additional tenants and investments. So happy to hear thoughts on X21, and that was actually my last slide. So and Kevin was going to charge me per the minute if I go over, so I was talking fast at the end.
Do you just want to quickly review like next steps with the board, estimated timelines?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. So the next steps are, we met with the FAA in May and presented the preliminary forecast of aviation activity to them. So we'll be formally submitting that to them later this month or wait till the 4th of July. We'll submit that to them 4th of July. But that's the next step, is to finalize the aviation activity forecast, and then we'll soon start into the demand capacity analysis. Public involvement will really pick up at that point, and we'll do our first round of TAP and CAP meetings, the technical panel and the citizen panel as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brad. Is there any questions or comments from any board members? Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right direction. Kevin, anything else to add?
No, sir. Thank you for your time and input. We can send out this so y'all can have it. If there are any other comments, you can get them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Brad.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, board.
And,
Thank you.
No further business at the workshop or adjourned. Next meeting.
That workshop.
Mine.
You got it.
Pete, good to see you, friend. Yeah. Was it? She's dieting. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
That's fine. So I think it's I'd love to get one of the new authority locks that you guys got, right? The beautiful brass that is the combo and a key. Okay. I want to be the first guy so I can tell Roger I beat him. I said, Roger,
Yes.
I want to have the first new lock. Because I need one. All right. Peace. All right.
You guys can give it next year, you think?
Yeah.
Good.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Careful.
Did you go with the master? Did you say publish?
Stay out of the sun.
That's for like the-
We started a vampire.
Yeah, I know. I'm just always.
I'm trying to be smart about it. I got hats.
Well, that looks like a good
It's.
There you go.
I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something?
And then I keep. Which he hasn't really, but you can see. Right there. Yeah, they're right there. And that's something just- Because they don't. Thank you for your time. I'm like, this is the one because I just Googled it. No, this is the Yes. Change around here. Interestingly, no maintenance to be on the building. Oh. Oh, yeah. You and Steve.
You know the land.
Good. Hey, you know, we were talking, and I mentioned seaplanes, and I said Banana River, and actually it's an offshoot from the Banana River, according to Google Maps. It's like.
Sixth Street.
I just wanted to.
Patrick was originally.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Catalina's.
Catalina's.
The ramp is still there. You can see the ramp. The hangars, they still. Go in the VHC and they have a little dedicated wall to all about Banana River Air Station, Banana River, Gateway Station, Banana River.
And where's that?
You remember the flight of the Avengers that got lost?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They didn't take off from here, but they sent a rescue flying boat out here that blew up. And it just kind of led to this.
Oh, really?
They were all looking for the lost squadron, and it never came back. And that led to the whole Bermuda Triangle and all that. Those things were flying bombs, you know. And that's certainly what happened. And there's still remnants of the observation tower of the bomb range in the river, just south of the 528.
Yeah.
In the shallows, there's a circular ring, a concrete structure, something like that, and that was the observation tower. The bombing range. Even though there's no technique and all sorts of stuff.
Interesting. I get out. Really?
All right. We call the meeting to order. Stand for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Craig.
Chris.
Mr. Mount.
Here.
Mr. Molitor.
Here.
Ms. Curry. Mr. Whitmore.
Here.
Mr. Boss.
Here.
Mr. Granger.
Present.
Mr. Doherty.
Present.
Mr. Burt.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Kevin, the agenda, is there any additions or subtractions to that was presented to the public or advertised to the public?
The only change we have, Mr. Chairman, is on action item Foxtrot Alpha, Riverflying LLC, that needs to be changed to Riverflying FBO and Restaurant LLC, but you have an updated agenda. Okay. That's it.
All right, that being said, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented by the director and or amended by the director? A motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Molitor, seconded by Mr. Whitmore. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the motion passes. Minutes, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the May 18th, 2023 regular meeting minutes that were published?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Boss, seconded by Mr. Granger. Any discussion? Complaints, questions? None? Excellent. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the motion passes. Kevin.
Yes, sir. We have a aeronautical ground lease for the board's consideration today. We're pleased to present this. This is for the River Fly-In FBO and Restaurant LLC. It's Dr. Niazi's development. This will be on the north side of the airport, the vacant 6-acre parcel, basically where the AWAS is located. They're going to be utilizing the property for kind of a mixed development of corporate box and possibly tea-hanger facilities with a small restaurant on the north side. Estimated construction value, $3 to $4 million in improvements. We have a lease abstract in your packet to just hit the high points here. Term of the ground lease is 50 years. The ground lease rent is going to be 30 cents per square foot, which is the current fair market value. It should net us about $80,000 a year in rents. The rent commencement date will be December 15th, 2025, or when the CO is issued. We did kind of push it out and give them a little longevity to that due to the fact we have to move the AWAS, which is about 12 months out, which is fully funded. They also have to get their water management district permit. They also have to get their county, city, or excuse me, their county site plan and building plan approved, and then go through FAA airspace and environmental. So we felt like that was an appropriate time period. We think this is a great project, and I welcome any questions y'all may have.
First, we have a motion to approve the aeronautical ground lease agreement with River Flying FBO and Restaurant as presented. This will be moved by Mr. Ross, seconded by Mr. Whitmore. Okay, now questions and discussion. Brad, you jump in.
You know me well. I've seen two different numbers on the size of the restaurant. I think one's probably just a typo. I've seen 150 by 85 and 150 by 65.
So
Checks 65.
right now it's all conceptual. The only thing they've done so far is they've completed a boundary survey, which they're still waiting for the data on that. So as this project kind of moves forward and they finalize what they're going to do, we'll bring it back to the board.
So they're probably looking at that 9750 square feet.
I think it's
than 12.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a small footprint, but a much needed amenity.
Oh, man.
That airport.
That location.
It's going to be good.
As far as the FBO part of it, what's the idea of that?
So right now they're just focused on the restaurant and the buildings. That could be a future consideration. For some reason, he just set the LLC up with the FBO name. But I think at the end of the day, that's what they would like to do on the north side of the airport.
And that's fine, no station.
Between that and the other hangar going up on the north side of the airport, I'm really pleased on what we're doing over there. And the fact also that the airport authority won't have any obligations other than the AWAL, so it'll just be what we call mailbox money.
So what they want to do eventually for a seaplane thing, that's current, it's always been airport property, right? Is there, how would you know, like, are these guys going to be able to go dredge that thing out without running into all sorts of DEP?
I mean, ultimately, it depends on what the state does, right? So submerged lands leases, I don't know who's got it right now, might not be anybody. I mean, you guys go to the state of Florida, there'd be a lot of red tape. I mean,
I just wonder if it's already labeled, if it was once labeled that, if they could say, well, this has always been, we're just
even still, those
You
leases.
You gotta get permits.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just get them to focus on the vertical right now.
Mark, did you say that at one point in time it was
That's what I
designated?
understood.
Yeah, it's
huge.
in the master plan, but again, you still have to go through that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the permitting process.
But typically, if you've got it before, it's a lot easier from what I know about the water.
Can be.
Just to try to build a dock these days.
Yeah.
Let alone a seaplane days.
Right. Yep.
But hey,
So I guess this is the first time I've seen this diagram. So I guess I don't get it. There's 5 hangars.
Again, this is all just kind of conceptual at this point. They just put some boxes on the 6-acre parcel. They don't exactly know what's gonna be in there yet.
So, and they're assuming that there's gonna be granted, that they's gonna grant them access, direct access to the home fence.
Well, it would be just aeronautical development. Dr. Niazi's not talking about the condo building across the street at all. This is just a aeronautical development.
We are not promising with the fence
Yeah.
access.
I understand it, but I see an entrance with a big parking lot and access to hangars.
I think
Like that go right on our property.
the parking lot access, it'd have to be some sort of fence, but to allow the public to utilize the restaurant. If they get to the restaurant, they still have some hurdles to get through.
So I guess my question is, if this land is developable into hangars, why aren't we as an authority looking at it and going, hey, we need more hangars, right? This is a community asset that needs more hangars and has for years. And that makes us recurring revenue that we own.
So
I'm just playing,
I would just tell you at Merritt Island Airport, with the exception of 2 buildings, we own everything else. We're just, I'll call it what it is, we're behind in maintenance, everything like that. So for us to go and build something there, it would be 10 years out. So we're trying to.
new hangars.
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing an environmental assessment right now. We're on year 2 of it, of the south side. So here we have a private developer with private investment, and let them take the risk, let them make the improvements, and then we have the ground lease. We're doing everything we can, following our strategic business plan and trying to diversify our revenues. And that Merritt Island's a big one, where we own just about everything.
It would be difficult for us to get funding for T-hanger development of our own. We don't have the money yet.
Yeah, it would just be years out.
FAA does. Those are low, very low order.
Everything is about pavement and airfield before you get to vertical.
it's no different than what we're doing here.
Yeah, I understand, but we just had a visioning discussion about what the airport's supposed to look like
Right.
and why it's actually there. And, you look at a hangar waiting list that's 20 years long. And is it a community airport, or is it an airport for other people to build stuff on that because they have money? I don't know.
I think we have to diversify. Let's take the south side development that Dr. Niazi signed a ground lease on just called a year ago, right? He already has his site plan approved. He's, I think, in July, going to be getting his, they're anticipating their building permit. They're going to go to construction sometime this summer, maybe early fall, late summer, early fall. It'd take us forever to do that. So we're trying to partner with someone that we know in the community that has an interest. He's already a tenant there. He's served on this board for 12 years. I just think it's a really good win for us.
Okay. So potential revenue per year is what?
About 80,000.
And does that stay at Merritt Island? You just said we're way behind in.
We are,
maintenance
yeah,
and
so,
all kinds of stuff. So how do you have that set up from a cost?
So it is set up as a cost center, Chris.
No, I understand it is, but how do you have that potential revenue set up?
Yeah, it would just go right back into the operation. It would go into the operation. of
Global
maintenance.
operation or just the?
No, just Merritt Island. Oh, yeah, Merritt Island. We're separating everything out. Everything from purchase orders, do we buy nuts and bolts? Everyone's time is separated by cost center now. So we're able to make real business decisions. And, with something like this, once that AWAS is moved, which is funded already, the only thing we're gonna take in is checks, rent checks.
Also, T hangar development is not a lucrative endeavor. Based on what you charge for T hangar rent, you're not looking at any kind of reasonable cap rate.
Well, I think that's a whole nother discussion, but.
I agree. I've had that discussion. I agree with you. But it's what the market will bear. I think the market is universally kind of set by existing expectations, at least in my experience. Had this discussion down at Melbourne too, to say, hey, can we come in and build T hangars? They're going to get rid of the T hangars on the south side of the airport because of the hotel. And we certainly looked into building on the north side, but you can't make money. You can't make any money doing it. It's a problem for what you can charge per square foot. We've looked into higher end T hangars, can make them a little bigger and charge a little bit more. When you get into the corporate hangar realm, now you're talking better dollars, better return on investment, but you can't make money on it. And you're looking at about what you try to get about 10% cap rate on a construction project if you're lucky. You won't touch it on T hangar development, and you can't get people to come in and do it. It's hard. Just give me money. So it's a tough. Those are tough development. That's where federal and state funding will really help, because those are free dollars, right? You can reduce that expense, but those are hard. That's been hard to come by too.
How do we get the new ones funded there?
Where?
And they're
FDOT. I thought it was FDOT, right?
Oh, the new box hangars. Yeah.
Were those replacements for existing, for ones that like we knocked over or falling over?
There was some portables there.
Yeah.
We got lucky getting that.
Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was before Kevin. I was wondering how that process worked.
I like the idea of ready money, somebody willing to throw money at the airport for a restaurant. And which will do nothing but serve the public. Again, one of those things we talked about, not all pilots, but people in the community can actually now do that. And my experience is going to the government building hangar is ridiculous. Firsthand, you get a guy willing to throw buku bucks at it, develop it and do it. We get to collect $80 grand a year. I think
And he really has.
If we could really hand off all the ownership and stuff like that, then we can reduce staff. I mean, we wouldn't have to try to manage people to fix things.
It helps.
we don't want to go to the restaurant.
You don't back then. In 50 years from now, we get it back. Just saying.
Along with the X's.
Could we have that? They're at Kevin's house.
No, they are not. For the record, they are here. Just to be clear.
Is there any questions?
Oh my
Any
God.
other comments?
What are we looking at on the monitor? This looks like a bad album guy. I'm about to turn off the TV. I don't know what that is.
It's a serial killer.
Is that somebody who's
Is it somebody on Zoom?
Zoomed in? Yeah. I did wonder about, there was one clause in there about the advertisement and such that I guess I didn't quite understand, because all along, this has been the development that, supposedly is not connected, but it is connected because it's the same person, has been advertising through third parties that it is a fly-in community. And utilizing our name of the airport as the flying community. And I think it says in our, this lease, the way I read it, Adam, that they're not allowed to do that anymore. Is that true?
Which section are you looking
I
at?
can't remember. I read through it a couple times today and
I have a vague recollection just because
I couldn't
we
figure out
weren't,
what
we
that.
weren't guaranteeing access.
Yeah, we
That was-
talked about that.
that was the point, was I agree, and Dr. Dion is familiar, by the way, but I agree, is that it was being advertised as a fly-in, and we were saying, advertise it however you like, but we're not guaranteeing, you're not gonna be able to come back to us in
Right.
6 months and go, well, I couldn't get through the fence access, so I don't want to lease the space anymore. So the idea was to protect us from,
I think that's what I was, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that was
wanna
the
make sure
point.
that.
because we never
This is
offered,
what that was.
we never offered through the fence access. We never said, hey, you're gonna be able to have
But
it.
the only reason we don't want to get caught between the FAA saying that it can't be done, because why would we care? Why is it a negative if it's a fly-in? And It seems like a positive thing.
Yes, although we have kind of set a precedent, already legally.
Wow.
That had a hanger attached to the.
Well, I understand that, but-
And I just,
I don't
To me, it's
necessarily
very-
see the negative to that.
I don't know if it's a negative, but it's a legal issue. That's the,
We never said no to that.
right.
It's not our decision to make.
That was
It
the
comes to
FAA.
us first, and that's what we asked, is you come with it, the way TTF works, you come with a plan. We work through it, especially security, because if you're gonna have a gate, you're gonna monitor that gate, you're responsible for access. Then that would have gone on to the FAA to decide, and I can tell you, I can't think of the last time a residential TTF operation was approved by the FAA, but that's not up to us. We look at it as, is it a benefit to the airport, and if we think it is, then we can say, look, the board approves this, but it's up to the
And
FAA.
I'm not saying that the flying thing is not an asset.
But how's a restaurant gonna be sustainable if you can't get access to the restaurant?
But that's not up to us, and that's what I want to make sure legally we're protected on from a leasing standpoint. That if the FAA says no, they, well, then, we're gonna abandon the property, whatever, I don't know, I mean, there's some legal issues in there, and I think that's what that paragraph was addressing. Just want to make sure that I understood.
I mean, I think we need to, if we're gonna have that kind of growth, have a restaurant, they gotta have access for the people and the land. I mean, you come up, you fly in, you go through a gate and you walk right into the restaurant. I mean, the gates was put there specifically for that. So why would we, I don't even see why we would be fighting that. I mean, and as long as it's secured,
We don't need to fight it. We
No,
can
no,
support it
no.
100%. It's not up to us. That's the deal.
I mean, over there with Voyager, I mean, that gate is open. You just go up there, you go, it's like turning the doorknob. It's not locked or anything.
We're about to hit an end to that. We were just talking about that the other day.
But, I mean, they gotta be able to have access to their customers.
From our perspective, we can go back. That's a business decision for Dr. Niazi, and he knows this business very well. We don't really want to get into whether they can ultimately do what they think they want to do, right? It's not our job to look at their site plan and say, you're going to be able to do all of these things. We have no clue. We don't know if it'll get permitted. We don't know if the FAA will approve it. So what we do is we try to build this in and say, look, we'll take your preliminary site plan. We make no representations, no warranties, no nothing about whether you can do this or not. We give them some outs if there's some things they can't do, if they can't get certain permits or things. I mean, it's not designed to be a trap. We're trying to be a good partner, but we cannot be a guarantor of the development.
I agree, you
So,
can't be sure, but there's gotta be a process for him to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I would think we should be supportive of it.
okay.
If we want to develop the airport and have it come to the vision that we're talking about, you gotta give it access. If you're talking about letting kids go out there and get excited about flying, you gotta come up with some kind of an access plan.
Fine.
All right, that's what I would think we would be working towards.
Well, and we can, but it's up to the developer to bring us a through the fence operation plan. He's got to have a written, same thing with Manor Drive. We did the same thing. We never said no, ever. We said, no problem. Tell us what you want to do, why you want to do it, and bring us a plan. For example, in that scenario, as you may recall, the taxiway was no longer attached to that property. It was a stretch of grass. So one of the things we talked about was, are you going to build, you're going to extend it, Marl, or whatever you're going to do so that your aircraft can actually taxi over this space to get to this offsite property. And we never got a plan, never got anything.
I understand.
So absolutely, we'll be happy to work with Dr. Niazi if it's particularly the board's direction is something we at least want to consider to bring a through the fence operation plan to say, okay, here's something where he's addressing all these things the FAA is going to ask him to address and considering it. And then we can, in fact, my plan for that one was to have the board vote. And if the plan is approved, then submit to the FAA and say, hey, this comes with board approval. This comes with authority approval. Because one of their first questions is, does the authority board think this is in the best interest? Does the sponsor agree with this? Are they on board with this? Is this a joint application or is this something where they're going, hey, say no to
Well,
this?
if we're leasing this property to him, I would think that and he's presented a plan. I would think that our vote is gonna be saying that we agree with his plan.
We don't know what it is
We
yet.
don't know what the
Well,
plan
we-
Conceptually, we see
But we have a conceptual plan. We
Right.
know what his intent.
And all I'm asking about, Don, is the legal backstop to make sure that as the third party, we are not involved in that. Because if we can say it, we can vote and support everything we want, but it's not our choice. It's the FAA. The FAA says no. We need to be legally protected, that it's not our issue.
Well,
I mean, that is between the developer and the FAA, and yet we can vote and, you know,
Salesman can sell
6
whatever he wants.
Exactly. No every day, and it's not gonna matter if the FAA says no.
Well, there may be other ways around. We could relocate the fence around the parking and the restaurant. Put it on the outside.
My thought.
That's the easiest thing.
You know, have access to the air side for pilots and things, so you have a flying in option for this restaurant, but then give it landside access. There's a thought. I don't know.
That's the easy way. That's what I would do. So you can do it.
That's a look like a question mark, but that's all right. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Is there any more questions or
I don't know if
comments?
that was-
So as far as getting back to his FBO thing, that's just in there, like,
For future.
any ideas where they would put a fuel, do they acquire the existing fuel farm?
I think, you know, again, right now, they're just focused on trying to figure out what they want to be on that 6-acre parcel and what they can fit on the 6-acre.
I think it's great we have a guy who will throw money at something like that, because I don't know, if he didn't have the, I don't know anybody else in Florida, that say Florida, say I'm gonna throw money at building something.
He has a real interest in that airport. He wants to make it nice. He has a real vision. He's been a pleasure to work with, I'll tell you that much.
All right, no further comments. Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have my annual performance evaluation in your packets. I think the blue folders is a blank evaluation form. I also have my self-evaluation that I completed. And then also have 3 letters of support in there from tenants.
And I should have made this comment, it's not really an action item yet. It's nothing to vote on. Okay. It's more of an informational item at this point. So we're not voting on your.
Okay.
What I'd like though, Kevin, is if you could just quickly kind of step us through real quick, not like the super road post, but
Yeah.
I want to hear from you, you know, verbalizing what you've given us. Because now the board will then, over the next few weeks, take their individuals, and then of course in July is the actual review month. This is your chance to kind of give us background on what you've written.
Okay, I mean, you know, basically, I would just tell you, when I got here 2 years ago, I came here and half this building was empty. The corner building was empty. The hangar 55 had just emptied out. So we've made a large attempt to fill those vacancies. We've made a big attempt to bring in new revenues. Also, there's been a lot of effort and a lot of lift to bring up our commercial tenants who a lot of them have been paying under market value. We still have a couple leases out there, but I think that's really going well. You know, we have here at Space Coast 321 Launch, the Alliance Capital Management Group, Space Perspective lease agreements. All that stuff is going great. We have potential tenants we're working with. As far as so I think from a business development standpoint, definitely very happy with what we're doing and how we're doing it. Relationship with boards, the board, I meet with y'all regularly, talk to y'all regularly. I think we have a good rapport. I think you guys now know me and I know you. I think it's a really good partnership. Financial management, you know, we made that transition to QuickBooks. We're making our transition into Truist. We're lucky to get Christy on board to keep us straight. She comes with a lot of street cred. So I'm real happy with where we're at with that. I think we've made really good strides too with the funding agencies. Candidly, when I got here with the FAA and F2T, it was not great. But we have really turned that ship around, if you will. We meet with them regularly. And we meet with them regularly without the consultants. Sorry, Rob. And they hear from us. They know about our program now. All the informational stuff, like Justin and Christy and Lisa went to the state meeting today. That means a lot. You're in front of these people constantly, and we're being rewarded for it now. The Bristow Way building, I mean, that was never in our capital program. We quickly received $500,000 in grants. The NASI phase 2 program, I literally called them Thursday morning and said, we need more money. Thursday afternoon, we had a grant agreement. So to me, that's come a long way. But not only are we getting new grants in, we're closing existing grants, which was never really done here. So I'm proud of that, and I'm establishing a relationship with Space Florida as well. They're another funding partner, and the zone folks. Public image, we're out there now. Go to a lot of the meetings. Involved with Titusville Chamber of Commerce, meet routinely with the city manager, meet routinely with Commissioner Pritchett across the tracks. So we're at all that stuff now, all the functions. Try to hit all of them, but sometimes we just can't. I will also quickly say, with staffing, we made some hard choices and hard decisions when I first got here. To adjust the organizational structure, which we did, and it has paid dividends. We haven't had any sort of turnover at all with our full-time employees, which is huge. If you don't have the right staff in, your life is going to be miserable. So we have great employees, they're motivated, they'll do anything we ask, and we treat them well. I guess in a nutshell, I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm happy with what we're doing, and I'm hoping that the board is as well.
Is there anything that you think that you need that you haven't asked the board for, or that could make your life easier?
So I think, and I had a sneaking suspicion you're going to ask that. So I think in this upcoming evaluation period, we've got to hit the policy and procedure handbook, or manual, I should say. We've got to hit our minimum operating standards, rules, and regulations. We need to keep doing what we're doing with our vertical assets. Excuse me. We're going into all the T-hanger units now. We're going to all the units, we're painting, we're making repairs, we're redoing lights, but we definitely need to keep that up. There's other things that we need to do, some training stuff like we were talking today. Also, I think we've got a really good grasp on Brevard County and all the entities, but I need to start getting out, going to our customers are at, the satellite conferences, the space conferences, the aerospace stuff. We need to start going out and, getting those lead generation people, getting buzz and getting interest, especially here. So I think in this upcoming evaluation period, you'll see that in the budget where we can start getting out more.
Any comments or questions for Kevin?
Yeah, we're working our way through the list. We got a ways to go.
I have a comment. I think it's unique in that every one of us was here for his selection process.
That's true.
Which, how often does that happen with the board? I think it's easy, incumbent upon us all to look back at what we asked of him when we brought him on, and what we talked about, the conversation we brought him on, the goals, what we were looking for. Director, so, look through this.
I would say my first 90 days, I thought, wow. But year 2 now, I'm developing relationships. Man, I'm starting to see that battleship turn, and just feel really good about where we're going, and just proud to be here. And I'm excited to be here. And I wish we could work 7 days a week, but Christy says no. So that was a hard no. But no, it's exciting time, and I'm happy to work for you guys. And again, hope you all feel the same way.
Is there a way, and I don't know who can do it best. I can probably do it. but I screwed up. Is there a way to send out the blank eval form in a document that we can actually type into, like either Word
Oh, you mean
or
a
a
fillable-
PDF? A fillable PDF.
Yeah.
That'd be great, yeah. That way we can easily share them, I think. Sure. Like than trying to write it, so spaces, so we can do that. And again, I'll send out an email a little sooner this time to make sure that we're all have them in by a certain date, so that then we can collate and then have a good discussion. Excellent. Individual feedback for next month. But any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, that's not necessarily an action item. Don't forget about the tenants in the T hangars. They pay the bills around here.
Of course.
And it's easy to forget, and some of them think they're lost. So keep
Wow,
up the
that's-
activities.
Yeah.
And you have the cookouts and other things, but keep that up because these people need to believe that they're part of the change.
Well, I hope that they do, and I hope that they see our reinvestment of their dollars back into their facilities. They're not ours, we just get to manage them. And that's important. And quite honestly, I don't want to come here every day and look at rundown facilities. I mean, I can't be part of that. And I think that you guys have seen that since I've been here.
I try to talk you up every time I get a chance.
Well, I mean, it's not just me. I mean, these two and, Christy and
Talk about staff.
Justin, I mean, they're out there as well. And, like I said, I think we're doing the things that we should be doing.
What is the vehicle for, say, senior residents to give suggestions?
Quite honestly, a lot of them come in when they're dropping off payments. We're down in the T hangars all the time. I mean, I'm certainly not sitting at my desk. So we're out and about at all three airports, I might add, every week. So, I think we have a really good rapport with a lot of them. And I even come up on the weekends just to kind of see what's going on.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Kevin.
So what is, John, so the procedure now is on the July meeting, we actually vote on this? Or
What we'll do is, by contract, we will give him feedback through our comment, I'll collate them and then kind of present it as one group. And then compensation review is due every year via contract. So we can either decide to continue with what we have, we can increase, we can decrease. Whatever we want to do.
And that happens at the
Just
July meeting.
now,
that happens at the July meeting?
correct. All right. I'm sorry.
Well, if we kick Justin out, he provides snacks. So everybody he tries to keep the weight on everyone.
Actually, we can't do anything. All right, Kevin, sorry, next item C.
All right, Justin, you're up.
No, invoice. Oh, yes. Sorry. Very good.
All right, Justin Hoffman, Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance, invoices for Arthur Don, the master plan update for condo request number 6, $15,816.57. For Space Coast Regional, the master plan update for condo request number 6, $23,098.99. For Space Coast Regional for the Spaceport, the Spaceport master plan update for condo request number 2, $65,813. For Space Coast for the air traffic control design and bidding, AFCON payout number 12 is $13,980.71. Also for AFCON, same project, payout 13 is for $28,390.23. For the runway 1836 design project at Space Coast, Kinley Horn, for the independent fee estimate is $2,000. For Meriden Airport for the master plan update for Condo Associates, request number 6, $37,619.82. And then for the corporate hangar project, with C&D construction pad number 2 is $15,300.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the invoices as presented? Moved by Mr. Ross, seconded by Mr. Mulder. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor of approval of the invoices as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion passes 6-0. All right, Justin.
With some technical difficulties over there, so we'll just go over the projects. The legacy projects, corporate hangar at Merritt Island. We're going back and forth with the county right now on the permitting issues. There's some issues with the engineering company not providing the proper paperwork or paperwork that can't be opened or whatever plethora of problems they come up with every day. So we're back on track. I think today we should by next week have everything back to the county if they are requesting and go for the building permit. Site work is underway. There's drainage work. They're out there today working. It's really just holding on the building permit. At Arthur Dunn and at Merritt Island, the Wasses, still we're just waiting on equipment so we can start the construction. So that's looking at the beginning of the year. We just closed the runway 927 grant today. We're here, so that's exciting. First time we've done that in a long time. So that is completely done. We'll have the VAC grant closed hopefully by next week. So that'll be exciting too to close that project out. The NASI project in Merritt Island, they tell us that we're on the paving schedule. It's really the last thing left is paving and removal of a septic tank. They keep telling us it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I did talk to the paving company and they're saying differently that they're still negotiating back and forth with the contractor, with Thorn. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have the road closed back up and paved and we've done with that project as well.
Whereabouts is the septic tank in the project? In the end and middle?
As far as the physical location septic tank, there's one septic tank by Servant Air Ministries, and then there's another one right behind Voyage. There's a trailer back there. I don't know if you've been back there. It's underneath that trailer, or in front of that trailer.
Okay. Thank you.
Operation wise, Arthur Dunn. One more project. The Challenger Road design, the Challenger Road extension. We just received the 30% design plans for that, so that is well underway. That's paid for by Space Florida. Operations. Sorry. So you're right. Really on the paper some other stuff. Oh, the tower is 100% complete. Complete. The design is complete on that. So we need to seek funding for construction. I did when I was in Melbourne today at the F-15 meeting. I did look at the F-15 folks and asked for $12 million. They didn't respond very well.
Did they respond?
I did.
It's asking, it's a hard word.
At Arthur Dunn, we average 75 operations a day. Here at Space Coast, 181, and Merritt Island, 323. So all three airports are a little bit on the uptick this month.
Yeah, business is picking up here.
Noise complaint wise, I only had one complaint from Merritt Island this past month. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Two Flies kind of for some reason been willing to work with us now.
You got their attention.
They're, as Kevin said earlier, they're going to actually, stop doing touch and goes on the weekends, which should help out a little bit. So they're doing full stop taxi backs. So everybody's slowly starting to play ball together. So see what happens.
Beautiful.
And the noise complaint was Two Fly doing pattern work at like 10:30 at night. So ask them not to do that anymore.
Okay. Any questions for Justin? All right. Thank you, Justin. It's time.
For the record, Christina Canora, Deputy Director of Finance and Administration. First off, we have the check register. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to the second item, which is the bad debt write-off. Most of this was for at airport storage. They did have an auction for some of the units and we actually recovered a little bit of money, but obviously not enough. So we're requesting right now to write off $3,060.51. Would you like me to go into detail or are we?
No, I just had a question because I didn't know anything about the auction until I was driving past it. I'm like, we're auctioning off something. Like, and my wife's like, what are they auctioning off? I'm like, I have no idea.
Nothing. Garbage.
There was other units. I mean, we had several as noted in the.
I guess the question is, how do we announce it?
It was all advertisement. Worked with Attorney Burr to make sure we met all the legal requirements. And then we actually went to other storage places to see how they do it. So it was pretty interesting.
I was just wondering because, I mean, I don't think anybody on the board knew. I didn't know.
Where'd we advertise?
Trader.
Trader, not Trader Joe's.
That would have been better.
In Orlando?
We're selling chariots.
Who was the auctioneer? Do you have a gavel?
It was Josh, and he was very excited about it.
Was it a blind auction? It's like I'm bidding on whatever's in that.
Yeah, you could,
Yeah.
it's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
on TV.
It was really
Yeah,
interesting.
oh, yeah.
That's
right.
right.
Garbage.
There was one looking at it from what I hear.
What they had.
There was like car motors in there and lots of car parts.
I really wanted to put our kayaks in there.
So how many units are open
I don't know exactly how many are open, but most of the ones that were auctioned, we already have tenants.
Yeah.
In fact, the people who purchased the units.
So you might get those car parts yet.
As long as they pay.
They had till, I think, Monday, because it was on a Friday or something, and they had a certain amount of time, so most of them rented the unit for a month. And thought,
It was an interesting exercise.
yes, it was. But it was well worth it
If
because.
we do stuff like that, it's just more, well, for interest, but we should probably also know, it's just so, just let the.
Certainly.
I mean, not this huge deal.
No,
No, it
it
is
is.
kind of dissembling when you drive by.
Should have stopped in.
No, it was best to get driving.
I didn't mean I was gonna buy anything.
No, it's good for us.
Is there any other questions to the details? It is what it is. Right, thank you.
So do they need to vote on that? Since that will be writing on. Or just sign the letter?
I do not think we have to vote on it because it's an internal.
Yeah. That's fine. It's really just a paper write-off.
Okay.
I mean, technically, if the money came in the future, we would vote, right? So
All
it's
right,
not gonna happen.
good to know. All right, moving on to the May financial statements. We have total current assets of 2.9 million. Total assets is 73.1 with total deferred outflows of resources of 278,000. Liabilities, current liabilities are 1.9. Non-current liabilities are 1.5 for total liabilities of 3.4. So outflows, deferred inflows of resources that's at 4.7, and our net position is at 65.2 million. All right, I'll move on to the income statement. Our total operating revenue is at 2.3 million. I would like to note that miscellaneous revenue over at Arthur Dunn, if I can find it. Oh, actually, I don't have it broken out here. I was going to give you the number for airport storage, which is a cash cow. So if we could take that in consideration for the new entryway to the airport. So, our operating expenses are at 1.9 million. And our depreciation is at 1.7. So we have total operating expenses at 3.6. and total operating loss at 1.3, but that's with depreciation. So we have interest income of almost $4,000. We do have interest expense mainly for the line of credit at a little over 15,000. And so total non-operating revenues and expenses are at a loss of 210,000, almost 211,000. So now we have capital contributions of 2.7 million and ending with our net position once again at 65.2 million. All right, so if we move over to the actual versus the budget, our aeronautical revenue is currently at 1.9 million compared to the budget of 1.7. Our non-aeronautical revenue is at 394,000 compared to the 1.3 budgeted. And we have miscellaneous income at 43,000 compared to the budget of 2,500. So our total income at this point is 5.1 million compared to the budgeted amount of income of 3.1. And moving down to the expenses, I'll just point out one thing. Right now, you do see a negative of 21, a little over 21,000 in consulting services. That is due to some administrative fees that we charged against that account. We do have expense in that account, but we charged back administrative fees that we closed out on some of the projects. So we put it towards consulting fees. So unless you guys have any questions.
What was our fuel system came in so much expense, so much less than the budget?
Our fuel systems. Basically, that was just a number based off of last year and, doing an increase. That's the expense portion. It's not the income portion. So, yeah.
That's only for May.
Right. It's not the entire year yet.
Sure.
Any questions for?
Who handles the rentals?
As far as,
Well, if I want to ask how many empty hangars we have here at Tyco, how many empty hangars we have at Dunn, how many hangars we have at Mare Island?
our
How would I
staff
get that?
does keep that information. I don't know if you want to go, through if Mr. Downey would prefer you to go through him because we give him a report weekly on the empty hangars. And
If they are empty, we're doing maintenance and whatnot.
Right.
We would quit turnover.
I'd just like to see what the number is, because I don't.
We can put a report together for report packet every month. We have the data.
35 people on the wait
I
list.
think the only,
Well, everything is-
right here at Space Coast, there's one, your neighbor, which we're fixing that one. And then at Merritt Island, there's two that are being rehabbed right now. They should
Yeah,
be
everything's
done.
about the repair.
And then up at
One do
Dunn, there should be 0. I think there's, at each airport though, this month, there's 2 or 3 people turning in hangars at the end of the month. So we'll have some more to go through. But they're pretty well.
yeah, I know there was one vacant right now too because we're going down the list and I can't remember if it's over done. Some people are not interested in the hangar. So we have to give them time and
Right.
to come back with a decision. So it keeps going down the list.
Christie, on the grant revenue on the profit and loss budget,
Yes, sir.
we have nothing in 2022 to September 23 as a budget. How come we didn't budget it, or or
Let me see.
go to the top?
No, we did not budget anything. It was strictly operating. So,
So our total income, if we change, if we took out the grants, with even from the budget to the actual, say, so we just called each side 0.
Mhm.
then does that mean we had about a $500,000 loss in income?
Yes.
Is that my reading?
Or between our operating expenses and the operating income.
And the only concern I have is that, right, we're in a transition where we're getting in a position where our cash come in. I don't want to run out of cash. And
Exactly.
we're already into our, how far into our line of credit are we?
Our line of credit, the balance on that, we've been trying to pay that down, and I think we're at 349.
Yeah, we just paid $500,000 on the last one.
Mhm. We did take a portion for the purchase of One Bristol Way. We took out a portion on the line of credit, but we paid that off. And then this balance, I can't remember if it was right at 400,000 for the settlement, but it might have been a little bit over 430.
It was 460.
460, thank you.
So Bristol was all taken care of. We've cashed out and we have no more further liabilities on that.
We do have further liabilities that stretched over 3 years. That was through the cooperation of, the previous owners. Thank you. Alcohol.
So we basically came up with $1 million at closing, and then he agreed to hold the note for 3 years at 0% interest.
So that's the majority where our cash has gone.
That's where our interest rate, that's where we're paying him interest on that, or is that?
Negative.
Yeah,
Zero.
I remember that's zero. Right. And then we're thinking about possibly some other asset purchases.
Yes.
Are we budgeting them?
We are taking a look at next year's budget for that.
So,
We're in the process of building that. right
so
now.
before we go buy it anymore, that we're gonna have a budget that we can see that shows it.
Yes,
We're
sir.
gonna kind of maybe make sure we have enough cash.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Adam?
Update on the Wells Fargo check issue. My hope is to bring a short list of experts to the board for consideration next month. They are expensive. And it's a somewhat nuanced question that we're asking. So I'm working to vet possible experts, and my goal is to bring hopefully not more than 3, but 2 would be my goal to at least consider for the board next month, so we can get that show on the road, have a conversation, give him the information he needs and or she needs, and decide where the board wants to go from there, weigh our cost benefit. So I am planning to do that next month. I was at the Legal Affairs Spring Conference in Aventura the last week of May, and as I indicated, I presented on us. I think it went over pretty well, other than one of my colleagues using a 500-year-old picture of our airfield, which from a friend of mine from Denver, which I got on him about because I said, we don't look like that anymore. We're a lot more developed than that, but
He should know. Okay,
friend. Friend is a relative term too. But I did, in a room full of airport lawyers, there's only about 8 licensed horizontal takeoff and landing spaceports in the country, to say, look, we've got space. We'd love to hear from you. If you guys have, if you ever have a tenant who doesn't fit your model or wants to do some operations at your facilities that don't fit with what you do, you don't have that spaceport license, you can't do experimental aircraft horizontal takeoff and landing for space vehicles, please send them our way. Talk a little bit about some of our fabulous tenants, including Space Perspective and Space Coast Innovation Park. So I did my best to give us a 15-minute commercial for what we do here. And I share Kevin's excitement and about where we're going. And I would happily tell anybody that wants to hear that this is the place you should be and why. And it's because of the good work that you all do as well. So I just want to say thank you for that. But the presentation was good. My Star Wars slide went over fairly well for 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. But anyway, it was a good presentation. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there a recording of that by any chance?
I can
I'd like to
ask.
see it.
I can ask.
Fall asleep.
Yeah.
Sure. Any new good lawyer jokes told at the?
So just my joke about the wretched hive of scum and villainy, which was the quote when the spaceport on Star Wars came up. I thought that was appropriate for a room full of lawyers. They thought it was kind of funny. It was like smatterings of laughter as people like shook themselves awake to listen.
We told joke.
Yeah, but it was no, nothing good. It's as much fun as you think it would be if you're in a room full of 150 lawyers.
All right, any questions, Brad?
Authority members reports, Mark? Jane?
My walk, forgot to mention to you, a complaint from guys down on the south shelter hangers, the far
Yeah.
end, south end, helicopters are flying, not directly over the hangar, but going close. They're concerned because they're not supposed to be anywhere near the hangars as they're flying out, but they're starting to edge in. They have an engine out, so they're going by the.
Nothing from me.
Nothing. All right. Anybody who has any comments from the public? Right, hearing nothing. Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.